My husband, Robert, passionately kissed his first love right in front of me. After their intense moment, he actually said it was just French etiquette. To everyone's surprise, I didn't cry or make a scene. Instead, I said sincerely, "It's fine, you two look good together. I wish you a long and happy life together and a big family." The instant I finished speaking, Robert Smith's face changed. He squeezed my wrist hard, his eyes blazing. "Sally, what's with the passive-aggressive attitude? Don't forget your place." "That's right, Sally, don't be mad. Rob and I are just friends," Jessica said, looking generous as she tried to appease me. But I was done being meek and compliant. I rattled on, "You were practically French kissing in front of me, and you're telling me not to care? What's next? You two roll into bed, and I'm supposed to be perfectly fine with it?" Robert Smith was stunned that I dared to retort. Then he roared at me, "Enough. Sally, you've truly disappointed me today. Jessica just got back home. Is this how you want to ruin her welcome party? Get out, right now." Robert Smith hurled a beer bottle at my feet. The glass shards quickly cut my ankle. His friends started openly criticizing me for being difficult, their eyes full of ridicule and disdain. It was just like the past 10 years, no matter how hard I tried, I could never truly belong to their circle. Taking a deep breath, I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. "Robert, Sally is still your wife. She won't go home and make a scene, will she? Make a scene with me? She's just a pathetic dog begging for scraps. If she dares make trouble, I'll make sure she's kicked out of the Smith mansion forever." Robert Smith's contemptuous and disgusted voice came from behind me. I hurried my steps. My heart ached terribly at that moment. "Robert Smith, this time, I won't make a scene ever again. I was an orphan raised in the Smith mansion. I grew up alongside Robert Smith. Everyone said I.W. as a scheming girl who knew how to latch onto a rich man from a young age, calling me shameless and cheap. But Robert Smith furiously beat up everyone who gossiped about me. "Sally is like a sister to me. None of you are allowed to bully her." From that day on, I completely fell for Robert Smith. He always took good care of me too. Many times, I mistakenly thought he liked me back. Unexpectedly, in high school, he fell in love with Jessica. Compared to my low status, Jessica was a golden girl. Beautiful, smart, with an outstanding family background. I didn't even dare to feel jealous. I could only watch them as a golden couple, flirting and laughing together. It wasn't until after high school graduation that Jessica went to France for further study. She broke up with Robert Smith and quickly got a new boyfriend. That night, Robert Smith drank until his stomach bled. He cried and asked me if he wasn't worthy of being loved, which was why Jessica had left him. With a heavy heart, I gave Robert Smith the handmade gift I had made for him. I told him, "Rob, that's not true. I'll always be with you." After saying that, Robert Smith suddenly stripped off my clothes. We clung to each other all night. The next day, we naturally became a couple. But Robert Smith said, "Don't think just because you used tricks to get into my bed, I'll marry you. You're not even worth a single strand of Jessica's hair." It would be a lie to say I didn't hurt. But I thought that as long as I was good to Robert Smith, he would eventually be touched by me. So, from dating to marriage, I gave Robert Smith my everything. His friends looked down on me, calling me a doormat and a homewrecker who stole him. I didn't care. I would always rush to the bar when he called me in the middle of the night. I'd listen to his dismissive mockery. "See? I told you Sally is as obedient as a dog. She'd never defy my orders." For 10 years, I kept deceiving myself, believing Robert Smith well. D eventually loved me completely. But on the day Jessica returned home, he left me alone on a mountain road. He let me walk step by step, from dawn till dusk, barely surviving to get back to the city. Then I happened to see the city filled with fireworks Robert Smith had set off to welcome Jessica. That's when I finally understood how devastating the power of his first love truly was. Everyone said I was finally going to be abandoned. But it didn't matter. I was so tired. This time, I truly didn't care anymore. Back home, I started packing my few belongings. My social media feed was already exploding. Countless mutual friends of Robert Smith and me were posting videos of my pathetic exit. Their greatest shared hobby was watching me, like a stray dog, being abandoned by Robert Smith. Because they always felt I didn't belong. Ha ha ha, Jessica is finally back. I wonder what that bumpkin Sally will do now. TSK TSK, Robert and Jessica's kiss was so romantic. Look how pale Sally's face was. That bitch can finally get lost. Poor and pretentious, I couldn't stand her. Robert Smith didn't say a single word in my defense. Instead, he even posted a status update. After going in circles, the right person was still on the way. Turning off the glaring comments, I took a deep breath and then called Professor Thompson. Professor, I'll be participating in this international painting competition. That's wonderful, Sally. With your talent, you're sure to make it to the finals. I was originally a graduate of a top university's fine arts program, but I had been trapped in the quagmire of marriage, and my professional skills had long been neglected. Now, I was determined to leave Robert Smith and reclaim my dream. Sally, what's gotten into you tonight? Suddenly, Robert Smith, drunk, pushed open the door. He hadn't found the hangover soup he expected and glanced at me irritably. Then he saw I was holding a suitcase, ready to leave. 3/10 of high. Drunkenness instantly dissipated. He said through gritted teeth, Sally, what is this? Are you making endless trouble? How many times have I told you Jessica is just my friend? Such a temper. I just said a couple of things, and you're leaving? Fine, if you leave now, don't ever think about stepping foot in the Smith mansion again. To Robert Smith's surprise, I didn't get on my knees and beg for forgiveness as I had in the past. I just said calmly, okay, I won't come back, and walked out the door. I immediately heard the sound of a vase shattering. Robert Smith behind me was cursing and threatening me nonstop. Then he smashed our wedding photo to pieces and ordered the staff to throw it in the trash. When I got to the hotel, I found all my cards had been stopped by Robert Smith. He wanted to force me back to beg for forgiveness. I was expressionless and used my own savings to rent a room. After unpacking, I suddenly received a video from Jessica. The video showed two naked bodies. Even though their faces were blurred, I recognized Robert Smith at a glance. He had a crescent-shaped scar on his arm, which he got saving me when we were children. My breathing quickened. It wasn't until the two people in the video finished their vigorous activity that Jessica suddenly said, Rob, I remember Sally's cooking is pretty good. Can you ask her to make some and send it over? Of course, no problem. Half a month ago, Robert Smith suddenly asked me to bring him food. I immediately rushed to the hotel despite the heavy rain. But after he took the food, he didn't even look at me, soaked to the bone, and just sent me away. So that's why. Jessica wanted to eat it. Life after leaving Robert Smith wasn't as difficult as I had imagined. I immersed myself entirely in painting. The results drew continuous praise from Professor Thompson. Sally, you are a very talented child. I guarantee your work will win an award. But just then, Robert Smith suddenly O'd up. He pinned me against the wall, looking at me with a sneer. Sally, you actually entered the painting competition? What does it matter to you? I had already left Robert Smith and wasn't bothering him in Jessica's perfect pair life. Why wouldn't he just leave me alone? Robert Smith gently patted my face and said calmly, Do you think you're worthy? You don't understand painting, so what right do you have to compete with Jessica? Drop out of the competition, and I might consider letting you come back to the Smith mansion. Only then did I understand that Jessica was also participating in the competition. My work had stood out among the judges, affecting Jessica's chances of winning. So Robert Smith couldn't wait to vent his anger for his first love. But why did I always have to be the one to yield? Impossible. I won't drop out. Robert Smith's eyes darkened. His gaze was as fierce as if he wanted to devour me. Sally, understand your place. You are just a dog of the Smith mansion, and your life can only be controlled by me. I'm warning you one last time, drop out. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Robert Smith pushed me to the ground, didn't even look at me, and turned to leave. I wiped medicine on the scraped areas, and tears flowed uncontrollably. That year, the roads were blocked by heavy snow. But Robert Smith had a high fever. It was I who walked step by step, carrying medicine for him. At that time, I was so frozen I felt like I would faint any second. Even the always picky Robert Smith couldn't help but say with emotion, "Sally, let's get married." I thought my suffering had finally ended, but I didn't realize. As long as Jessica returned, all my efforts would turn into dust. 3 days later, I heard news that left me in despair. I was disqualified from the competition. Professor Thompson wanted to say something, full of apologies, but could only hesitate. I understood. Robert Smith had used the Shao family's connections. For Jessica, he didn't hesitate to use such a despicable tactic. Just then, I scrolled through Jessica's alt account. I recognized it because her profile background picture was the 999 roses Robert Smith had sent her. Jessica posted countless sweet moments between her and Robert Smith. In front of her, Robert Smith was always gentle and considerate. Not only did he pick her up and drop her off every day, but he would also prepare various little surprises for her from time to time. Robert Smith even patiently washed Jessica's feet. But he was clearly a germaphobe. Once, I merely dropped a single strand of hair on his clothes, and he flew into a rage, chasing me out to the balcony. "Sally, you're so dirty." Love and lack of love were so obvious. Suddenly, my gaze froze. I saw Jessica wearing a wedding ring identical to mine on her hand. My boyfriend custom-made a unique ring for me. He's so good to me. In an instant, I felt like I had fallen into an ice abyss. It turned out even my wedding ring was fake. The real one was on Jessica's hand. My 10 years of marriage had truly been a joke. Perhaps the shock triggered it, but I developed a high fever that day. Just then, Robert Smith showed up again. He looked at me condescendingly, like an arrogant victor. "Sally, I told you going against me wouldn't end well. Look at you now. So pitiful. How about this, as punishment for your stubbornness, if you go and beg for forgiveness from Jessica right now, I'll take you back to the Smith mansion, and you can still be Mrs. Shao." My head ached terribly, and a hint of irritation filled my heart. "Get out!" Robert Smith, I would rather starve on the streets than beg for forgiveness from your Jessica. Robert Smith's triumphant expression froze. For the first time in over a decade, I had cursed him without mercy. He subconsciously exclaimed in shock, "Sally, you'd actually talk to me like that. Why wouldn't I? You stripped away my last hope, and now you want me to beg for forgiveness from the culprit. Robert Smith, I absolutely hate you." Robert Smith took a deep breath. He was so angry he laughed. "Fine. Fine. Since you feel this way, then let's get a divorce." With that, he turned and left. He was convinced that threatening me with divorce would make me immediately beg for forgiveness like a pathetic dog begging for scraps. For 10 years, this tactic had always worked. But I just calmly averted my gaze, unwilling to look at him again. This marriage should indeed end. After recovering from my illness, I planned to find a job. But then I suddenly received another call from Professor Thompson. Sally, I've secured an opportunity for you. Would you be willing to study abroad and further pursue your painting dream? I immediately said yes several times, excited. I hadn't expected such a turning point. For the next few days, I prepared for studying abroad. If I wanted salvation, I had to save myself. Just then, I received a party invitation from Jessica. Sally, I'm really sorry about what happened last time. I'd like to explain everything properly in person. I originally didn't want to go, but Jessica's friends started spreading rumors about me, saying I was a homewrecker and was afraid to face the original. But I was the one who was legally married to Robert Smith. In a fit of pique, I accepted Jessica's invitation. When I entered the private room, I immediately felt malicious gazes fall upon me. Oh, Sally, you actually dared to come? I thought you were too guilty to show up after trying to seduce someone else's boyfriend. Some people are really shameless, clinging to someone who doesn't love you. I ignored their vile words and just sat quietly in a corner. Many people asked Robert Smith if I had apologized to him later. He sneered and said, Sally has been kicked out of the Smith mansion. We'll be divorced soon. The private room immediately erupted. Jessica's best friend, Brittany, even popped a party popper. I couldn't stand that bitch. Robert, you finally dumped her. You and Jessica are a golden couple. I noticed that Robert Smith kept glancing at me intentionally or unintentionally as he said this. But even hearing divorce, I remained calm. For some reason, he suddenly lost his temper. He picked up a glass of red wine and splashed it directly in my face. Divorce, Sally. Can't you hear me saying I want a divorce? The stinging red wine made my eyes hurt. I wiped my face clean and said helplessly, Robert Smith, how many times do I have to say it? When did I say I didn't agree to a divorce? You don't need to keep emphasizing it. At these words, the private room fell into an eerie silence. Everyone watched as Robert Smith's face turned from white to green. He said through gritted teeth, Sally, I'll give you one last chance. Take that back. Otherwise, even if you get on your knees and beg 100 times, I won't forgive you. Before I could speak, Jessica suddenly stood up. Okay, Brittany and Rob, stop scaring Sally. Sally, don't be angry, it was just a misunderstanding. How about this? I'll compensate you with this necklace. Suddenly, Jessica's face changed. Where's my necklace? That was a limited edition worth 30 million. Everyone here is family. Who would take my necklace? Jessica deliberately emphasized the words family. Sure enough, everyone, including Robert Smith, looked at me. Who else but Sally? She's poor and vain. Now that Robert doesn't want her, she stole Jessica's necklace to maintain her extravagant lifestyle. Pfft. Sally really hasn't changed in over a decade, still so disgusting. Everyone spoke one after another, immediately branding me a thief. The scene was just like in high school. Jessica accused me of copying her test paper, claiming that was why my grades had improved so quickly. So she found the teachers and principal and forced M.E. to apologize to her in front of the whole school. At the time, I cried and begged Robert Smith to believe me, that I hadn't copied. But Robert Smith suddenly looked at me with extreme disgust and disappointment. Sally, you make me sick. Robert Smith. I didn't steal Jessica's necklace. My thoughts returned to the present. I subconsciously defended myself. But Robert Smith looked like he had reached his limit and slapped me hard. Sally, how can you be so uncouth? The slap made my eyes see stars. I fell to the ground and took a long time to recover. Jessica's friends frantically took pictures with their phones, claiming they would let everyone see my thieving face. Robert Smith looked down at me from above. Return the necklace and get on your knees and beg for forgiveness from Jessica, and this matter will be over. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, grabbed my bag, and started to leave. But Jessica's friends wouldn't let me. Brittany pinned me to the sofa, violently tearing at my clothes, calling it a body search. A few girls nearby continued to record, "Brittany, search carefully, don't let that bitch get away." Under immense humiliation, I couldn't help but cry. I couldn't help but cry out to Robert Smith for help. "Robert Smith, I haven't divorced you yet. I'm still your wife. Are you just going to let them bully me like this?" Robert Smith's expression flickered. In the end, he just said coldly, "It's all your own fault." At that moment, my heart was completely dead. This was the person I had loved for over a decade. My husband. I bit hard on the person tearing my clothes and desperately rushed out the door. Afraid they would chase after me, I ran haphazardly into the road. But just then, a white light flashed before my eyes, and the next second, I felt a sharp pain all over my body. Before losing consciousness, I saw Robert Smith rushing towards me in a panic. When I woke up again, I was lying in a hospital room. The doctor said I was 3 months pregnant. But in the car accident, the baby couldn't be saved. "I'm sorry, Sally, I didn't know you were pregnant." Robert Smith stayed by my hospital bed, his eyes red, looking incredibly haggard. I only felt that my heart had become numb. I couldn't even feel pain. "What are you sorry for? Anyway, you never expected this child." Robert Smith's eyes reddened. "That's not true. Sally, if I had known you were pregnant, I wouldn't have let them bully you. Even if you had stolen Jessica's necklace, I would have helped you smooth things over." I sneered. "See? Even now, he still thinks I'm a thief." From that day on, Robert Smith's attitude towards me improved. He would come to the hospital to visit me from time to time. He kept saying he wouldn't divorce me and wanted to start over. I had never seen Robert Smith so gentle. I almost believed him. But just then, I received a video from Jessica. In the video, all the rambler roses I had planted for 10 years were pulled out. They were replaced by vibrant red roses. "Sally, don't you understand? Rambler roses, no matter how good, are just substitutes for roses. Just like for the past 10 years, Rob has always loved me. What's the point of you still clinging to him now?" Closing the video, the last shred of hope in my heart disappeared. The next day, I bought a plane ticket and printed the divorce papers, leaving them on the hospital table. I took my luggage and boarded a plane to France. 3 years later, standing on the podium of the top international painting competition, my mood was uncharacteristically calm. In these 3 years, I had made a name for myself in various competitions. The name Sally was known to everyone in the art world. After winning another major award, my friend insisted on taking me out for a big celebration dinner. As we chatted, she started gossiping. "Sally, did you hear? Something big happened back home. That genius girl in OU. Our circle, Jessica, is engaged to Robert Smith, the president of Smith Corporation. They've been all over the trending topics these past few days. Aw, I'm so envious of Jessica. Her engagement party was so grand." I smiled faintly. I no longer cared about news of Robert Smith. Time is the best medicine for healing pain. Now, I just thought how foolish the person I used to be was, throwing herself at him like a moth to a flame. My friend was persistent and insisted on showing me the video of Robert Smith and Jessica's engagement. To my surprise, I saw the screen filled with rambler roses. Robert Smith always knew Jessica loved roses the most, so why did he prepare so many rambler roses? In the video, Robert Smith exchanged rings with Jessica, his face expressionless. There wasn't a hint of anticipation for the wedding. He had finally gotten the first love he had longed for day and night. What could he possibly be unhappy about? I couldn't figure it out, so I stopped thinking about it. Unexpectedly, I ran into Robert Smith on the street the next day. He looked disheveled. The moment he saw me, his eyes suddenly lit up. I wanted to pretend I didn't know him, but he quickly grabbed my wrist. "Sally, long time no see." I was startled. Robert Smith's voice was too tender, like he was talking to a long-lost lover. "What are you doing here?" Robert Smith stared at me, his eyes quickly turning red. Even though his heart was surging, he still pretended to be nonchalant and said, "Just here for a business trip. Happened to see you." Of course. I knew it. He couldn't possibly be here looking for me. I wanted to turn and leave, but Robert Smith wouldn't let me go. When I asked if there was anything else, he looked like he couldn't bring himself to say it. Over the next few days, I kept running into him. Finally, one night, I saw Robert Smith, drunk and slumped at the bottom of my building stairs. He walked towards me, his eyes red. "Why did you leave the divorce papers and just disappear?" "Sally, when did I ever allow you to leave? Don't you know I've been looking for you like crazy these past 3 years?" The more I listened, the more confused I became. "Didn't you get engaged to Jessica?" Now he was running to me, pretending to be deeply in love. What was this all about? Robert Smith stiffened. He said bitterly, "Sally, let's find somewhere to talk. Can you give me a chance to explain?" Robert Smith and I went to a cafe. It was raining on the streets of Paris. All the way, Robert Smith always angled the umbrella towards me, letting himself get soaked by the rain. But I thought of 3 years ago, also on a rainy day. I held the umbrella over Robert Smith's head, running all the way so he wouldn't get wet. Robert Smith, impatient, pushed me into the heavy rain, letting me fall to the ground. "Are you annoying or what? How can someone be so clingy?" He snatched the umbrella and walked away, not looking back no matter how I called out in the rain. My thoughts returned to the present. I looked at Robert Smith in front of me. He said painfully, "Marrying Jessica wasn't what I wanted. After you left, I drank all night. She took advantage of me being drunk and took intimate videos of us, sending them to my parents to force me to marry her. I didn't quite understand. How is that forcing you? Being with Jessica wasn't what you wanted all along?" Robert Smith said bitterly, "No, Sally. I admit I was obsessed with Jessica before, but that wasn't love at all. After you left, I was lost and heartbroken for countless nights. Every time I couldn't feel your presence, I felt like I was going crazy. That's when I realized I had loved you all along. I was just used to your devotion and couldn't see my own heart clearly. I'm sorry, Sally. I mistook a pebble for a pearl and lost you for so long. Can you forgive me? Just say the word, and I'll go back home and break off the engagement with Jessica, then remarry you." I couldn't help but laugh. Marriage, such a major life event, was treated like a game by Robert Smith. Robert Smith, how can a person be as selfish as you? He was the one who loved Jessica to death, and he was the one who was desperately begging me to remarry him. Why do people always have to measure how deep their love is by the pain of losing someone? The way you are now, you're truly disgusting. As Robert Smith's face turned pale, I slowly spoke. "How do you expect me to forgive you? You were the one who allowed your friends to bully me. You were the one who was ambiguous with Jessica. You were the one who forced me out of the competition by messing with my work. For 10 years, you never fulfilled your duties as a husband, yet you suddenly realize after I left. Robert Smith, you don't deserve to talk about love. You just aren't used to someone who always revolved around you not being there anymore. Just as you said, you only saw me as an obedient pet. You have always only loved yourself. Robert Smith had always had things his way, and no one had ever treated him with such disrespect. His face turned from pale to dark, and he finally said reluctantly, "I'm coming to you, begging and pleading. Why can't you just forgive me? I promise you, I won't have anything to do with Jessica anymore, okay?" Sure enough, Robert Smith still didn't see me as an equal. He always believed I was the Sally who would come running back whenever he called. I didn't say anything. Instead, I poured the red wine on his face, just like he had done to me when he wanted a divorce. "Mr. Shao, you should just give up. Even if I were at my lowest point, I wouldn't start over with you." With that, I turned and left. Behind me, I heard the sound of dishes shattering. "Sally, I won't give up." Robert Smith indeed didn't give up. I had never seen him so relentless. He sent countless priceless luxury goods, each worth more than Jessica's necklace. He even cooked meals for me himself, bringing them every mealtime even if I didn't eat them. He even taught himself how to paint and cautiously gave me a portrait of myself. I tore it up right in front of him. "Do you remember, Robert Smith? That year, I also painted a portrait like this for you. But you tore it into pieces and told me not to bother you with such meaningless things." Robert Smith's body trembled. He looked helpless, like a child who had done something wrong. "I'm sorry, Sally." I shook my head and locked him out. The next day, as soon as I stepped out, I saw rambler roses everywhere. The strong fragrance made me pause instantly. Robert Smith had prepared a car overflowing with rambler roses just to beg for my forgiveness. "Sally, do you like this gift?" Robert Smith asked expectantly. I was silent for a few seconds, then lit the car on fire. The countless rambler roses were instantly reduced to ashes, just like everything between Robert Smith and me. It was already barren. "Robert Smith, the rambler roses you see now, no matter how beautiful they bloom, are not the ones I planted with my own hands back then. Just like us, no matter how much we try to fix it, we can never go back to the past." Robert Smith's body swayed. He looked like he had suffered a great blow. Under my cold gaze, he finally broke down in tears. I thought Robert Smith would give up this time, but I unexpectedly saw him again after my competition ended. He looked at me gently and knelt on one knee. "Sally, this is a unique ring in the world. I spent 3 months designing it myself for you. I truly know I was wrong. Can you give me one more chance?" I chuckled. I threw the sparkling ring into the trash can. "Sally!" "Robert Smith, I don't want this one. I want our wedding ring, the real one, the one on Jessica's hand." Robert Smith's face instantly turned pale. "How did you know?" At that moment, he could barely look me in the eye and left in embarrassment. From that day on, I never saw Robert Smith again. I didn't pay much attention, just focused on my world of painting. Not long after, I heard that Robert Smith had broken off his engagement with Jessica. A friend across the ocean sent me a video. In the video, Jessica, usually calm and elegant, was crying hysterically. "Robert Smith, how dare you break off the engagement with me? You were the one who pursued me." Robert Smith looked at her with not a trace of affection left, only coldness. "If it weren't for you, how could Sally have left me? Don't think I don't know. Sally didn't steal your necklace at all back then. It was you all along who were slandering her. It's ridiculous that I was blind back then and believed everything you said. From now on, I will never be fooled by you again." Robert Smith pushed Jessica away, unmoved by her pleas. "Robert Smith, wasn't Sally's leaving related to you? If you hadn't hurt her again and again, why would she have given up and gone abroad? She left, and you started regretting it? You were clearly engaged to me, yet you even cried out Sally's name in your sleep. Robert Smith, aren't you pathetic?" Jessica gave up entirely and started laughing hysterically. Seeing this, Robert Smith immediately frowned and viciously grabbed her neck. The golden couple, once praised by everyone in their circle, had now come to such a tragic end. I couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The so-called first love had become old news. Later, another year passed. I heard that the Meng family had gone bankrupt under Robert Smith's deliberate suppression. Those who had ganged up with Jessica to bully me, led by Brittany, were also all ruined by Robert Smith. At the same time, Robert Smith publicly declared his love on social media, claiming there was a girl he had always loved but couldn't have. He had lost her because he was young and foolish. Netizens went crazy shipping but I felt a chill. Sally, I wonder what kind of girl could make Robert Smith so unforgettable. Whenever I heard my friend's exclamation, I just smiled faintly. Too little, too late. Time passed slowly. I returned to the States to participate in an art exhibition. As soon as I got off the plane, I saw Robert Smith waiting at the airport. I turned and walked away. But he quickly caught up to me, saying tremblingly, "Sally, I finally waited for you. I've made everyone who bullied you pay the price. From now on, I'll only stay with you. Let's start over, okay?" Robert Smith. I pushed his hand away, frustrated and angry. "How many times do I have to tell you before you give up?" Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly saw a handsome blonde, blue-eyed man walking towards me. "Darling, no need to waste time with unimportant people. We should go enjoy our candlelight dinner." With that, the man elegantly kissed the back of my hand. However, this scene stung Robert Smith's eyes. He grabbed the man's collar and said with red eyes, "This is my wife. Who are you and where did you come from?" I was embarrassed and helpless and quickly pushed Robert Smith away. Just as he had explained to me back then, I said, "I've been in France for a long time. That's just social etiquette. Besides, we're already divorced." "Robert Smith, what right do you have to control me?" With that, I ignored Robert Smith's angry and resentful gaze and pulled Albert away. 12 after dinner, Albert asked to be in a relationship with me for the umpteenth time. "Darling, should we?" I interrupted him. "Albert, I've told you, I don't have any plans for that right now." He looked a little sad but still pretended to be calm. "Is it because of that man just now?" I shook my head. "Not because of anyone. It's just that my past self wasted my dreams for love. Now, I just want to focus on pursuing my dreams. That was my current life philosophy." Rambler Roses D. "Don't need anyone's appreciation, they can bloom beautifully on their own." After gently refusing Albert, I returned to the hotel. To my surprise, I found I was on the hot search. It turned out the paparazzi had filmed Robert Smith pulling and grabbing me at the airport earlier. This stirred up a storm. Netizens immediately speculated that I was the girl Robert Smith mentioned on social media. A little while later, Robert Smith directly published a long post admitting it. Suddenly, countless netizens shipped us enthusiastically, calling for me and Robert Smith to get back together. I trembled with anger. I hadn't expected Robert Smith to use public opinion to force my hand. But I wasn't the helpless Sally I used to be. A few days later, at the art exhibition, facing numerous reporters, I said calmly, "Mr. Shao and I were indeed together before, but I'm more curious as to why my painting drafts appeared in his ex-girlfriend Jessica's hands. Painting drafts are such private things. I really can't figure out who could have taken them without me knowing." As soon as I said this, public opinion exploded again. Netizens speculated that Robert Smith had stolen my drafts for Jessica. Immediately, he was labeled a thief. The discussion continued to escalate. Netizens dug up the history of grievances between Robert Smith, Jessica, and me. They discovered that the so-called genius girl was actually a homewrecker who stole him. And the Smith Corporation president was a love rat who abandoned his wife and couldn't be satisfied with what he had. Now, Robert Smith and Jessica became targets of public condemnation. Sally, are you taking revenge on me? You resent me for believing Jessica's slander against you back then, so now you're throwing mud at me? I gave a cold laugh. Robert Smith, I'm not as disgusting as you. Have you forgotten that you once forced me to give my painting drafts to Jessica? Jessica's artistic talent wasn't high. A large part of why she became a genius girl in the art world was because of my drafts. At that time, Robert Smith always belittled and suppressed me, saying I wasn't worthy of art and only deserved to be Jessica's stepping stone. So I foolishly let Jessica step on me to climb higher. For a full 10 years. Robert Smith's face turned pale. The words of rebuttal were stuck in his throat. Finally, he quietly said, "It's all my fault. What I owe you, I will repay." I didn't take his words to heart. It wasn't until a fire broke out at an art exhibition, trapping Robert Smith and me inside. He desperately shielded me and rescued me from the fire. But he fell into a coma from inhaling a large amount of smoke. Later, the police investigated and found out Jessica started the fire. After her family went bankrupt, she was disgraced. Left with no choice, she became a mistress to an old wealthy man. She tried to be as arrogant as she used to be with me, but unexpectedly, the original wife was extremely capable and sent people to break one of her legs. In her intense resentment, she finally went insane and wanted to drag Robert Smith and me to death with her. Sally, it's all because you ruined my life. I'm going to kill you. Before Jessica could finish, the police took her away. When she said that, her face was twisted with jealousy, completely forgetting that she used to be the most outstanding student in school, the one I could only look up to. As for Robert Smith, doctors announced he was in a vegetative state with little chance of waking up. I felt no softness in my heart, only that this was the ending he deserved. Later, I traveled between various cities for competitions and exhibitions. Finally, in my heart, I cultivated my own happiness. End of novel.